Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about my journey to sustainable health and meaningful success. If you're coming back and you've already subscribed, welcome back. Y'all are my people and I love you so much. And if you're new, I hope you consider subscribing by the end of this video. This video might seem a little bit rushed, but I'm hoping that I can get my point across in the correct amount of time. I'm on my lunch break and I think it's important for me to clarify a few things about my Amway videos and tell you the rest of the story that I haven't been able to tell you throughout 2020. So please bear with me. It's going to be a lot of information in a pretty short amount of time. About a week ago, someone commented on one of my videos, and I mean no disrespect to this person whatsoever. If you come across this comment, like, nothing but love to this person, because even though he disagreed with my video strongly, I think that he articulated his points pretty well. I mean, yeah. And I think just reading this comment and kind of marinating on it a little bit made me realize that I need to just really put out an overall clarification of what I talk about with regards to Amway and pyramid scheme versus legitimate business. So here's the comment. It's pretty long and pretty well thought out, I think. So the comment is, it seems like you hate the idea of entrepreneurs and not Amway specifically. I mean, things from sliced bread to the phone you use came from people who had a dream and sacrificed certain things to create that reality. Yeah, you might miss a few events in your family, which is entirely your choice. No one has a gun to your head. But the impact is that you change hundreds and possibly thousands of families' legacies. I get it. You felt like you had your time wasted, which is fine. But to get on here and rant on about, in reality, how it just didn't work out for you is kind of, well, asinine. It's not like there's only Larry and Pam. There's thousands of people free through this business because that's what it is. It's business. Just understand this, no one said God wanted anyone to do this, but he gave those an opportunity to have something different in their lives. That's all it is. It's an opportunity. God's not telling you to go to work every day and make money. You do it to survive and you pray for the strength to keep going. That's exactly what anyone in LTD does, just like anything else. Don't knock anyone else's hustle because it didn't work for you. And from reading this comment, I mean, I don't know this person, so I don't know what kind of team this person is a part of, but it sounds like they're a part of a very different team than I was a part of. Because if you see Amway as just a business opportunity to sell products, and I might refer to Amway as selling soap just because in like the old Amway audios, that's what they were saying, like, we're just selling soap here. I know Amway sells a lot more products than just soap, but I'm just using that phrase. So if you want to sell soap and you think that Amway is an excellent opportunity to sell soap, and then you're that passionate about selling soap that, you know, you get other people to love that soap just as much as you do, and they want to sell that product as well, then I think that's perfectly legitimate. And even though I have the term anti-MLM in a lot of my videos, I guess I would say that I'm not actually technically anti-MLM, because I think multi-level marketing and network marketing, which is the same thing, can be done in a legitimate business way if you are selling products. Only one video, in one video I said that Amway products are generally overpriced, and I agree with that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a scam. I would just maybe consider it a ripoff, but that's my personal opinion about the products. And I would say that a lot of multi-level marketing company, like, their products are generally overpriced. That's what I've seen, but that doesn't make it illegitimate. Only one video have I actually addressed salespeople in multi-level marketing companies, and that was because one of them was trying to sell me a product that had been pretty well known to cause like hair loss and scalp sores and like a pretty terrible product legally. That's what I understand their products to be. And they were trying to sell that to me after I posted something about my hair loss. And I was really just taken aback by the lack of boundaries and sensitivity for that subject. And then in that same video, I talked about how a woman tried to sell me essential oils to based off of my grieving my miscarriage and the incredibly predatory and insensitive nature of sales that I have experienced personally within multi-level marketing. I think that's really low. It's a low level to stoop to if you're going to be that aggressive and that insensitive with regards to your product sales. But the action of selling a product itself is totally legitimate. And I'm concerned that I would ever give off the vibe of being anti-entrepreneur, because I myself am an entrepreneur and I have a side hustle on the side of my full-time income. So I don't know. I mean, I'm building my own business to this day. It's not a multi-level marketing thing, but I'm very pro-entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people do use Amway in a positive way. And if you're selling products and your team is focused on selling products, I don't think that's predatory at all. Because if you're able to say, I use these products, I like these products, I sell these products from a company called Amway, and be very upfront about it and convince other people that that is worth doing as well, then everybody on your team wins. Even the people on the bottom rung of, the pyramid structure, even if it's not a pyramid scheme, the people that you've recruited, even the people on the lowest level who don't have a downline, are still making money because they're selling products. So that's not scammy and that's not predatory. So I wanted to clarify that, because in that way, I think Amway is very legitimate and gives a lot of people an opportunity to make a legitimate income from their homes and not have to work a job, possibly. My experience with Amway wasn't one that promoted the sale of products. And I just recently learned from a credible source that the team that I was a part of since 2020 and all of the chaos, things have kind of shifted and they are focusing on more product sales. And I think there has been a little bit more government intervention in Amway's sales and recruiting structure that have forced Amway representatives to actually sell the products. And I think that that's brilliant and wonderful. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I don't want people to be turned off the idea of selling a product for a legitimate income, because I think that is honorable and completely legitimate. The thing that I experienced, and if you've seen anything in my videos, it turns into a pyramid scheme when the only volume that's moved in the business is purchased through IBOs themselves, and they only focus on recruiting. Because then you're not actually making legitimate sales. You're just recruiting people to put money into the organization. And the only people who are making money are the people at the top. But the people on the bottom are purchasing their products and technically losing money because they're not making product sales. That is what I would consider a pyramid scheme. And it's based solely on how each upline runs their business and what they focus on. So if you're focused on product sales, you're totally legitimate, and I have no problems. I have no qualms with you. So that's what kind of leads me to why I make videos and why I talk about LTD. And in response to the part of the comment that said, nobody ever said that God called them to do this business, I disagree, because I have had personal experience with a lot of people who think that God called them to do the business, to be in Amway, not to sell products, but to recruit people. And there was a lot of religious innuendo and religious themes in my experience that might be different from yours. And I talk a lot about that in my videos. I think a lot that I address is not so much the Amway structure, but within LTD, And within other groups as well, I think the thought process kind of stemmed from like Bill Britt. So Worldwide Group or Worldwide Dream Builders, whichever name they're going by right now, and Leadership Team Development and Britt Worldwide, these kind of groups operate in a kind of culture with a mindset and a hierarchy based on upline and mentorship and, at face value, it looks like they're really promoting really good values and morals. But I've just seen and witnessed the deepest part of how that could be potentially abused. And that's the perspective that I'm coming from. Before I launch into this part of the story, number one, I don't have too much time, so I might have to make a part 2 at some point. But number 2, I would ask that if you are responding to comments that I make on Amway or LTD audios, that instead of just saying, well, it didn't work for you and that's why you're angry, that you would actually address something that I said in the video specifically about the audio. I've been accused of taking words out of context, and that's not what this comment is saying, but other people in Amway have accused me of taking things out of context, but they've never actually pointed out anything that I've said that is wrong, or anything that I'm lying about. So if you have an issue with what I'm saying with regards to an Amway audio, then please tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what I'm getting wrong, because my reactions to those audios are specifically to point out hypocrisy or manipulation, or different tactics that have a good intention but have a very negative outcome in the lives of people who, see a different perspective. So that leads me to the next part of my leaving Amway story. And I am going to be pretty vague with details because the truth can hurt a lot of people, and I don't want to be reckless about how I talk about this. But when I left, first of all, I left Amway not because I wasn't making money. I left Amway because I got sick. In fact, I left college a couple years prior to that because I got sick, and I was recruited into Amway a couple months after I left college, where I was just starting to recover, and I was recruited into Amway with the book The Greatest Miracle in the World, and they told me that they're rag pickers. They take things that are seemingly invaluable or without value, and they actually put that to a purpose and breathe life back into that person. And so I was attracted to the business not because of product sales. And at no point during the 2.5 years that I was in business did I ever make a legitimate product sale. That is partially my fault. It's also it's indicative of what my team was focused on, which was connecting with people on an emotional level and getting them to join the business. But when I got sick in 2019 and had to take a break, my upline basically threw me back on that proverbial rag pile. They left me in the ditch where they originally found me, and there was no support from the people that I was in business with, even though I had just gotten sick and needed to take a break. Okay, so that was what I said in the original, I quit my MLM kind of video. And I go into much deeper detail than that, and how even in that conversation, I was being manipulated. But in the following events, I had a miscarriage. I went through a lot of grieving. I definitely, I did do a 6-video series on my time in Amway to try to recover some of the relationships that I had lost while I was in Amway, and just explained what my story was and what my perspective was, and how it played out, and how I felt manipulated and controlled by my upline. And then I thought I was done. I thought I was done. And then in January, I decided that I would make another video about going through my Amway breakup box to try to process some of the emotions, because the fact of I left Amway and those people were like my family. Those people were, I loved all of those people, and that was like 100 people. And when I got sick and took a break, I lost all of those relationships all at one time. I mean, I can't begin to describe the grief that I was going through and still clearly am still going through. I've cried more this week than I have in 2020 altogether. So I went through that breakup box, and I thought that that was going to be my last Amway video, because I thought that was a good closure kind of video. And literally like the next week, I found information that was like very factual, and I found like my proof of some really intense corruption and abuse within my upline. And I didn't know where to go with that information, because to my knowledge, everybody on my team, number one, didn't care about my opinion or didn't care about my experience. Number two, they thought that I was angry at the business and that I was just this disgruntled ex-Amway person. Number three, if they'd seen my videos and they thought that I was angry and out to get them or trying to harm them. So I really didn't have anywhere to go to with this information, but I knew, and honestly, this like haunted me and it gave me nightmares. This was like in January of 2020. So just now within this past week, all of this is coming to a head. So for a year, almost a year, I held on to this information knowing that there were potentially other victims, there were potentially other people being manipulated and hurt, and there was just so many negative consequences of this information that I knew. And, you know, if I hated my group, if I hated the people who were involved in that, I would have easily been able to just say, well, screw you, bummer for you that you're in this situation, and maybe you don't even know about it. But I love all of the people in the Free People of Chicago is what my team calls themselves. So I loved all of the FPC. And so this year, I haven't talked about it on this channel and have hardly talked about it to anybody. But this information haunted me. The thing about Amway Ltd. and what I've seen this and how I've seen it play out in the Free People of Chicago is the culture of upline supremacy, and the fact that you're not allowed to talk to Crossline about anything deeply personal. You're only allowed to confide in your upline. And when your upline is corrupt and your Crossline is afraid to talk to you about anything, it's very isolating, and there's no way for the truth to really get out then. Until this last week, when someone from the FPC saw my videos and finally reached out to me and had an open heart to hear the truth. And I can't tell you how much relief I felt being able to tell them and finally get the truth out. But even then, they knew, number one, they might be in hot water for talking with me because it was inappropriate crosslining. Number two, there was really no way for them to go to anyone without having the upline find out that that conversation was had, because of the loyalty to the upline and because of the rules and culture of not being able to talk to someone who's not your mentor. So now that I had this information finally released, and possibly the hope of people finding out and being able to know the truth and make a informed decision, at least on how they proceed in their lives without being deceived and manipulated by this corruption, even though I felt relief, there was still so many hoops to jump through, and there's still such a hierarchy to even get the information out there. And the fact that it took a year for me to even be able to give this information, and a year and 5 months after I quit, I find out that nobody reached out to me from the Free People of Chicago because my upline never told anyone that I was sick. They never told anyone why I actually left, and allowed them to believe that I just, became apathetic, or that I was angry that I wasn't getting results. And they allowed people to believe things about me that weren't true because they wanted to control the information about the truth. So now the truth is out there, ? I don't really know what the information, what is going to happen with the information that I released. I now have hope that at least the information will get out to everyone and that they won't control that information. But I realize that even within the FPC, and possibly within a lot of downlines in LTD, and anyone who listens to those audios, like the Cardinal Rules and Nevers, where I actually reacted to that and talked about how those rules became very cult-like, the organization may not change. That culture may not change, and people may still feel the control and manipulation of their uplines and not even really know it. And there is a heavy amount of religious influence. There is a heavy amount of spiritual manipulation involved. And I say this, I guess I'll have to make a part 2 about why I think that it's not just a regular God-led, Christian atmosphere. The main point of that being that as soon as I was no longer selling soap, or in our case, buying soap, I was no longer even part of the body of Christ. I was no longer even able to take part in any sort of community within my group because I was no longer buying soap. So I think that the perspective that I'm coming from is, I started doing these Amway reactions, the audio reactions, because I saw how LTD structures the organization and has the culture of LTD is what I have more of a problem with. Now, if you listen to my audio reactions, there's a lot of times where I say they're not even talking about product sales. And I do think that there is kind of a mentality that may be changing within the past year, but at least at the time that those audios were recorded, there was a heavy mentality on recruiting and not so much of a heavy emphasis on actual qualified customer sales. So with that being said, there's a lot within LTD that I disagree with. But just from my perspective, at no point was I just angry because I lost money in this. I thought I was just going to get over it. And then I found information that just tortured me to know that there were people that I loved who were being manipulated and deceived. And so even within this past few weeks and these past few videos, I keep saying I'm kind of going to back off from Amway content. But even still this week now, all of this going down and all this information being brought into the light, still ties me to Amway, and there are still relationships that need to be repaired or restored, and I have no idea if anyone has even any interest in talking to me, because they just think that my videos are angry at Amway for not making it work for me and not letting me make money. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because that's not what I'm focused on. Personally, I have a lot more interest in spending my time and actually building my business rather than trying to tear down another business. And I believe Amway is a legitimate business. So I really don't have any qualms with Amway, I guess. But LTD and that structure, the kind of culture that's promoted in those audios, I've seen the worst of the potential destruction that can happen from that. And in that sense, I can't not say anything about that. So maybe I'll make a part 2, depending on how you guys respond in the comments. If you guys have any questions or want me to talk about anything further, I might have to kind of expound on some of my points with regards to like the religious aspect. I did make a video on my religious experience within Amway, but yeah, it's a lot to go over. So I hope this video finds you well. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please just comment your thoughts. Let me know how you're doing. And I'll see you next Sunday for more health content, or next Wednesday for possibly more of this. Okay, bye.